YouTubed or something too while we're at it. Well, while you're still standing there, why don't I present you with this certificate that you missed because you Zoomed our state meeting instead of being there. And so this is James DeWard Stone Certificate of Appreciation in recognition of outstanding support given to the Sons of the American Revolution, and signed by Lee Popham, I think. Yep. Congratulations. Thank you for your support to the State Society.
Before you go away, can we get a picture?
Here you go.
Boy, you're redacted.
No,
There, now what?
nothing. Don't want to quite said.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So I'm just really almost 6 months into my term as the Regional Vice President for the Southwest Region, and really just beginning to do duties in that capacity. We were elected and installed in May, and here it is mid-October. Last week I was in Naples for the Naples chapter's first meeting of the season, and presented them with some of these kinds of awards also, and brought them greetings from the state, and I bring you all greetings from the Florida Society. And let me kind of get you up to date on what's going on within the Southwest region. And we've got some new people here. You may not know what the Southwest region is all about. We have 7 regions in the state of Florida, and Southwest region has 5 chapters. Basically, we go from Naples to the south, to Saramana to the north, and to Highlands to the east. So we've got Caloosa and Charlotte, and the other 2 I just mentioned. You may also not know that there's been a whole bunch of Zoom trustee meetings for the National Society. And because of the pandemic restrictions on meetings and so forth, of course, the leadership that took place in February, I guess it was, in Louisville, was the last time we got together as a national society. We were supposed to meet in Richmond in July for Congress, and that got canceled. And between then and now, there have been, I forget, 6 or 7 Zoom meetings of trustees, and I'm an alternate trustee for the state of Florida, and so I participate in these as well. One of the things that was accomplished in the last trustees meeting was to select a new SAR logo. And the badge that President Stone had described and as our membership medal was supplemented, not replaced, supplemented a few years ago with this Minuteman design, which is on the throw that Ann was talking about. And so this has become a even more collectible item now, because the National Society decided there were some problems with that design, mainly technical problems in doing things like shirts. You have to program computers to do too many colors and so forth and so on. So they ran this contest and had about 200 applications or whatever, submissions of ideas for a new logo. And they have a committee, and actually the chairman of that committee is Alan Greenlee, who is also a member of our chapter, by the way, and is the Southwest Vice President General for the South Atlantic District of the SAR. I won't get too carried away into how many districts there are and all, but anyway, he's the chairman of the committee, the branding and so forth committee. They ran the thing, they narrowed it down to 10 designs. The 10 designs were presented, were further narrowed down to 4. The 4 designs were presented to the trustees, and the trustees, in their ultimate wisdom, picked one that looks much like the DAR's logo, actually. Hopefully the SAR won't get sued by the DAR for infringement. But the thing of significance is, even though this has been approved now, and I guess it was a $5,000 prize for the first place winner, we're not allowed to use it yet. And the reason is because they're submitting the legal documentation for trademark and patent through the federal government. So when we have our proprietary interest preserved, then we can start using the new logo. There are 21 elected officers in the state society, and we have 1-year terms, just as the chapter does. And we are accepting nominations, either self-nominations or nominating others for these positions. There was a notice in the last Florida Patriot, it's a magazine, and again, for new folks, if you go onto the Florida website, there is a link and you can find current and past issues of the Florida Patriot. Basically, it says if you have an interest in being a state officer, you should fill out the proper form, and there's a different form for if you just want to continue in your current position or if you want to be a candidate for a new position. Those need to be turned in not later than February 1st of 2021 to the nominating committee and to the chairman, and the chairman is me. So if you're interested in more information about being an officer, let me know. There's a bunch of color guard information I'll run through quickly. Policy for earning bronze and silver color guard medals is being updated. There've been some issues about the period of time that you have in which to accomplish the different services. Nobody's in color guard uniform today. Oftentimes at a chapter meeting, we will post colors. We'll have our color guard, which has about 7 or 8 active members at the moment, I think. And that counts as a 5-point item for the bronze color guard medal. There's bronze, silver, there is a gold, but very few people live long enough to get that. So the question was, you have to have 3 years service in the color guard to be eligible for any medal. And you have to have 3 years for bronze and 3 years for silver. What's changed is that they're saying now you need to have at least 3 events in each year, in addition to the 300 points, to qualify for the bronze. So you can't qualify, can't use points earned for the bronze or the silver. So that remains to be publicized. One thing that's changed from the pandemic and from all these Zoom meetings is that virtual participation in color guard activities will allow you to earn points. We have national color guard events all over the country. There's 3 in Florida, but especially in the fall, winter, and spring, there's hardly a week goes by there's not a national color guard event somewhere. Many of these are being sent out through the Zoom process. If you wish to participate in uniform, there's some details, but you can get credit for those national events, which means for your silver color guard event. The three current national color guard events in Florida are the last naval battle, which is in Merritt Island, near Cape Canaveral, Thomas Creek, which is Jacksonville, and Pensacola. We're scheduled to do the Merritt Island last naval battle March 11th, 2021, Thomas Creek, March 22nd, and the Battle of Pensacola, May 8th. The easiest one for our area is certainly Merritt Island. But again, there may be a possibility to participate through Zoom. The honor flight program had been suspended again because of the pandemic. We had people, Chris was going to be a guardian, and another individual was going to be the honored veteran, Korean War vet. That schedule is being reactivated for May of 2021. So, did you get that information?
I haven't heard anything yet, no.
Okay. If you can get a hold of Jim Goblet, let him know. I think it's May 22nd, 23rd.
Okay.
But I will email you the information.
Okay.
The interest of the group at large is that they have a welcome home event at RSW Airport, and literally thousands of people turn up and greet these veterans and their guardians when they get off the airplane at the end of that trip to DC. So this is something, whether you're in the color guard or not, it's worth participating in. And as far as color guard, the last thing I'll mention is that we're planning on doing a float in the Veterans Day Parade, which will be on November 11th in Cape Coral. And we'll do it jointly with the DAR, and possibly with CAR as well. And our Vice President Mike Buff is providing his trailer, and our historian Tom Thompson is providing a tow vehicle, and we'll be trying to get some people together to decorate that in advance. SCR Congress will be held in Renton, Washington next year, July 10th to 15th, 10th to 14th. The hotel reservations are available now. These hotels tend to sell out fairly early on, so if there's any possibility that you might have an interest in going to Renton, Washington for the SAR Congress next year, I suggest that you go ahead and reserve a room. Cancellation policy is very liberal up until the date before the event. I believe you can cancel with no penalty. The startup of chapter meetings in the Southwest region have been kind of on a south to north, as I said. Nathan's met last week on Thursday, Caloosa today. Charlotte was supposed to meet tomorrow, but they decided they couldn't do it because they didn't have enough people that would be able to go out to a restaurant. What's happening in the northern chapters is they're tending to do these Zoom meetings instead of in-person meetings. It's hard to say right now when they'll resume the regular in-person meetings. In many cases like us, the facilities that we were using in the past are no longer available. So everybody's having to scramble around to find appropriate places to have their meetings. Last thing I'll say as far as the Southwest region is that we'll have our Southwest Region Vice President's meeting on February 20th, and it's going to be hosted at the Naples chapter. And their venue is the Tiburon Golf Club. If you're a golfer, you'd be impressed. I'm not a golfer, I was impressed anyway with the clubhouse. It's a nice spot, and I hope that we can have a good turnout for that event.
Robert? Wives?
Wives. I have one.
It's gonna be in Naples, and one of the president's wife works with several of the museums and historical buildings down in Naples, and has set up a tour for any wife that would like to come. And while they're having their meeting and stuff, we can go play at these museums. So if you're interested, we'll have more information as we get closer.
Right, the regional vice president meeting is supposedly a substitute for the winter BOM meeting, which was discontinued a couple of years ago. So there's a fair amount of business conducted, and ladies are always welcome at our meetings. And you might consider, if you're not already, and at least 2 of the 3 ladies here are already members of the Ladies Auxiliary. But there's not a lot of interest necessarily in an SAR business meeting. And so when we have one of these things, we try to give some kind of an activity of interest to the ladies. And so the president of the Naples chapter's wife is organizing a tour of museums in that area. Did I get that all? We have a color guard activity next week, and Tuesday, October 20th is the Lawrence Kearney DAR chapter's 50th anniversary celebration. And so we've got honorary regent from there with us today, but we'll have our color guard there posting colors. The state region will be there, and a number of other ladies from other DAR chapters and other state officers too. You got state chaplains there, right?
Several state officers.
Several state officers. State chaplain of the DAR. There you go. So we can have 2 state chaplains in the same room at the same time. I guess you're all ready for Dwight by now.
You forgot something.
I always
Something
do.
you're supposed to mention every time we meet. 2023.
2023 has been sort of mentioned already by Ann. The Florida Society is the lucky winner of the host of being the Congress in 2023. And it will be in Orlando at Rosen's something or other.
Rosen Plaza.
Rosen Plaza Hotel. You don't need to worry about reservations for that yet, but you do need to start thinking about, we've got a lot of activities that need to be organized and put together. Various of us are on subcommittees and so forth, including Dwight. What else?
I got an advertisement for that.
Okay. Why don't you get up and take the mic and
It's getting cut. I have been selected to be the chairman of the registration, no, not registration, which will work with credentials. And of course, that means all of you all have been selected to be on the registration. I'm taking volunteers. Now, that is a long way away, but let me tell you what, a long way away happens pretty soon. Because I can remember the first day they announced this virus going around. Now, it's been forever, but it's still going on. So I would like to talk to you. We'll have a list of things. Basically, most of our work will be done ahead of time and the very first day, when several hundred, if not 400 or 500 people show up, and they'll want to, if you've been to one, you know, you got to get the credential committee going on, you got to get your room assignments, get your class and all that kind of stuff. And it will be a lot of fun just to have us involved in that. So I do, if you would, at least put your name on, put that date on your schedule, and let's start planning for it. I would like to get all involved. I'm gonna say something that I shouldn't, but Bob can't. It will be quite an honor for us to go next Tuesday over to the 50th anniversary. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm not, that chapter was dying.
It was on an endangered list.
And when, were you asked or you just volunteered?
My registrar and I volunteered.
It was a 911 type of a thing for a dying event, and she took it over, grabbed a hold of it, and it needed grabbing a hold of. If you're not from the farm, you know what grabbing a hold means. But, if you can find a hold, grab it. And it has really come a long way. We've been over there a couple times to do color guard for them, so it is just an honor to be with somebody who didn't start a chapter but saved one. So thank you, Ian, for that. You want me to tell a story, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Any of y'all ever traveled north of Lexington on I-75? When you're going up near an area called Florence, there's a big water tower that says, it used to say, Florence, y'all. Now, it was supposed to say Florence Ball, but the ball didn't open up for several years. Florence, y'all. That is in a place called Kenton County. Now, Kenton County was named after a real person. His name was Simon Kent. About 6'4", 6'8", flaming red hair, a hulk of a man. He is supposedly, and it is greatly debated, the best or the second best pioneer, Indian fighter, developer, finder, path cutter in the entire west of the mountains, and particularly in the state of Kentucky. And the debate is whether it's either he or Daniel Boone. But they're both from a state that I've been to once or twice called Kentucky. Simon Kent and Daniel Boone were very good friends, and they worked together. Now, Daniel Boone, contrary to Fess Parker, and I'm sorry for Disney, but Fess Parker, and Fess Parker played Daniel Boone and David Crockett both. Well, he was pretty close to David Crockett. Daniel Boone was my size. 5'5", 5'7" at the most, weighed 200 or so pounds. He had red hair as well. He was a little squatty man. Matter of fact, the Indian's name for him was Big Turtle, because when he was sleeping on the ground all curled up, he looked like a big snapping turtle. And these two guys worked out very well together, as different as they were. Simon Kenton knew a lot of the British officers. Both he and Daniel Boone had served way back as far as the Lord of Dunsmore and the British control. And Simon Kenton made friends with a British officer who gave him what we would call today a magnifying glass. They call it a looking glass. And he kept it with him. Simon Kenton was a big-time pipe smoker. And he knew that he could light his pipe off of the reflected rays off the sun into his pipe and smoke his baccy. I'm sorry, some of you are not from the South, are you? Tobacco. And he kept it with him. One day, he and Boone had been out traveling, and the Indians got in between them, and they got separated. Boone escaped. Simon Kenton didn't. And he was a great prize, because they knew he was a great warrior, and it was assumed because he was such a great fighter that he had killed many Indians. Now the truth of it is, it was claimed by Boone's son, he may have only killed 1 or 2 Indians in his entire life, and that was out of defense. Most of the time there were battles where there were wounds, but not mortal wounds. Simon Kent was the same way. He was not a killer by nature, he was all for self-defense. But this was a prize by the Indian tribe, who took him many miles away from the central Kentucky area, around Blue Licks, in that area. Bob, what was that, where did we go virtually just a couple weeks ago?
Battle of Blue Licks.
Battle of Blue Licks. It was a place that had been an iron forge there, and there was a lot of salt there. It was salt licks, and animals come in salt licks, so therefore it was a good place to hunt. Problem was, if you were in the front trying to hunt, and the Indians were behind you, you became the hunter, not the huntee. So they grabbed him up and took him back several days' journey. And he knew their language. They had talked about how bad they were going to kill him. And they were going to kill him really bad. They'd all got all these plans. And that flaming red hair of his head would be on a pike, and that hair would be on somebody's belt. They tied him up. They had all the big celebration. They did all the planning. They got all painted up, war hoops painted up. And Kenton said, before I die and go to the great beyond, may I have my hands loosened up a little bit? I'm not comfortable, I'm a big man, I'm not comfortable. So one of the young braves went over and loosened up his hands. And they still did their dances and all that kind of stuff. And a few minutes later, he worked his hand back to his side pocket, down in the pouch, and pulled out that light stick, or what you want to call a magnifying glass. And he caught the sun just properly on some tender brown leaves and grass. And poof, it caught on fire. Well, it didn't last long, it was just a poof, and the young Indian brave came over to look at him, and Simon Kenton turned that angle just a little bit higher. It caught the guy right on the nose. And I don't know if you've ever been burnt by the sunlight coming through a magnifying glass. It got hot quick. The Indian screamed and ran. Simon Kenton turned his magnifying glass over to a distance where a bunch of gunpowder had been stored, and some of it had spilled. Well, guess what the sun rays did to the gunpowder? Yes, you are totally right. It puffed, it kaboomed, and Simon Kenton, in just about 30 seconds after he released all their horses and grabbed one of them, was no longer found in the northern part of Kentucky at the Indian camp. So that little gift that he had gotten from a British officer that he kept in his pocket to light his cigarette pipe with got him away from the Indians. And now there's Kenton County, there's Simon Kenton High School, and that whole reach up around Florence, all is a great tribute to one of the Indian fighters of all time, Simon Kenton.
Thank you, Dwight. Dwight always has a story to tell us when a speaker event doesn't show up for a meeting, and Dwight, in addition to being our chapter chaplain, is the state chaplain for the Florida Society and is a candidate for chaplain general of the entire National Society in an election to be held in July, this week's July. The only candidate currently. So, thank you, Dwight, I appreciate your words.
pleasure.
Bob?
So next time you go Indian hunting, take your magnifying glass with you.
Bob, thank you for sharing an update on the Southwest region. For our newer members, Bob mentioned the Color Guard several times. He's the Color Guard commander for our chapter. And the Color Guard is really the public face of the SAR locally and actually throughout the country, because we put on those wonderful uniforms and made of 100% wool in July. And it's really fun in southern Florida doing that. So if any of you would like to join us, we're always looking for additional volunteers to be in the Color Guard. So I want to close by thanking all of you for coming and being with us today. Many of our members, those who've been around, know that we usually have about twice this attendance, but many of our members were hesitant to attend due to personal health vulnerabilities. And I probably received as many emails from people chastising me for holding a meeting and for other things, and saying they're going to stay away and how could we do this, but we're going to persevere in light of it and do what we can. The hotel is working with us to social distance as much as possible. I think we did a reasonable good job today, and so some have indicated they won't be back until a vaccine is found, so that could be sometime before we see them again. So next month, just to give you a brief highlight, our speaker will be Dr. Roger Smith, who's with Colonial Research Associates in St. Augustine, and he'll be here to talk to us about a presentation on blacks in the American Revolution. We've heard him speak here in the past. Those of us who were at the Board of Managers meeting heard him speak on the musical Alexander Hamilton, which he had the same reaction to it that I did. He didn't like it, didn't care for the music, and that he has a different perspective on it based on the impact it had on some of his students. And so he is an entertaining speaker and a very knowledgeable speaker, and I hope that you'll be with us for that next meeting. and that will be a Saturday meeting. So, we anticipate having some more inductions that day. We still have 7 members, who have joined this summer, weren't able to be here today, and Chris, you have at least one more that's kind of on the bubble to maybe ready by then, so we may have, several more inductions next month. Please stand for the SAR recessional. Session will be led by compatriot broadcaster.
Until we meet again, let us remember our obligations to our forefathers who gave us our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and an independent Supreme Court, and a nation of free men.
A benediction by Chaplain Elam.
As we part, Father, let us take the good news of those who came before us with us. Let us share every chance we get the freedom we have came from the sacrifice of others. Bless our country. Father, please take this plague of this virus away from us. Make us strong in your service. Pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. We are adjourned.
Good to meet all of you again. You too, sir.